बिहारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभा धारी यशोदानन्दना व्रजजनरञ्जना यशोदानन्दना व्रजजनरञ्जना यशोदानन्दना व्रजजनरञ्जना यशोदानन्दना रञ्जना यमुनतीरावनचारि यमुनतीरा राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधवा Welcome again for our new temple infrastructure. We are still working on, so kindly bear with us. So today we will be discussing this very beautiful verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 4, Text 31. This is in continuation of our discussion from last 2 days, where this is what Krishna is thinking to himself, and Shukadeva Goswami is sharing that to Maharaj Parikshit as he has asked, why when all the Vrajavasis left with Krishna when he was leaving, why was Uddhava left behind? Why Krishna didn't take Uddhava? So then Shukadeva Goswami is explaining these verses. Nodhavonmapi manyuno yadgunai nadita prabhu ato madvayunam lokam grahayan nihatishtatu nodhavonmapi manyuno yadgunai nadita prabhu ato madvayunam lokam grahayan nihatishtatu. Nodhavonmapi manyuno yadgunai nadita prabhu ato madvayunam lokam grahayan nihatishtatu. Nodhavonmapi manyuno yadgunai nadita prabhu ato madvayunam lokam grahayan nihatishtatu. Nodhavonmapi manyuno yadgunai nadita prabhu Ato madvayunam lokam grahayan nihatishtatu. Nodhavonvapi manyuno yadgunaynadita prabhu. Ato madvayunam lokam grahayan nihatishtatu. Na, not, Uddhava, Uddhava, Anu, slightly, Api, also, Mat, to myself, Nyunaha, inferior, yet, because, Gunai, by the modes of material nature, Na, not, Arditaha, affected, Prabhuhu, master, Ataha, therefore, Mat Vayunam, knowledge of me, the personality of Godhead. Lokam, the word, Grahayan, just to disseminate. Iha, in this world, Tishtatu, may remain. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila. Uddhava is not inferior to me in any way because he is never affected by the modes of material nature. Therefore, he may remain in this world in order to disseminate specific knowledge of the personality of Godhead. Purport. The specific qualification for becoming the representative of the Lord is to be unaffected by the material modes of nature. The highest qualification of a person in the material world is to be a Brahmana. But since a Brahmana is in the mode of goodness, to be a Brahmana is not sufficient for becoming a representative of the Lord. One has to transcend the mode of goodness also and be situated in unalloyed goodness, unaffected by any of the qualities of material nature. This stage of transcendental qualification is called Shuddha Sattva or Vasudeva Sattva. And in this stage, the signs of God can be realized. As the Lord is not affected by the modes of material nature, so a pure devotee of the Lord is also not affected by the modes of nature. That is the primary qualification for being one with the Lord. A person who is able to attain this transcendental qualification is called Jivan Mukta or liberated, even though he is apparently in material conditions. This liberation is achieved by one who constantly engages in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. In Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1-187 it is stated, Ihayasya haredasye karmana manasagira nikhilashvapi avasthasu jivan mukta sa uchyate. Anyone who by his actions, mind and words lives only for the transcendental loving service of the Lord is certainly a liberated soul, even though he may appear to be in a condition of material existence. Uddhava was in such a transcendental position, and thus he was selected to be the factual representative of the Lord in his bodily absence from the vision of the world. Such a devotee of the Lord is never affected by material strength, intelligence, or even renunciation. Such a devotee of the Lord can withstand all onslaughts of material nature, and therefore he is known as Goswami. Only such Goswamis can penetrate the mysteries of the Lord's transcendental loving relationships. We offer our prayers to our Guru Parampara, of whom we may have a little bit of glimpse into this verse. As Prabhupada is writing in the last sentence, only such Goswamis can penetrate into the mysteries of Lord's activities and pastimes. So we will seek their blessings and mercy for us to understand a tiny drop of the purport of this. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunadanvitam Jivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitanscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Kadanchana smite yasmin dushkaram sukaram bhave Vishnute Viparitam Va Shri Chaitanyam Namamikam. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. I will seek all of your blessings, whoever present here and who may be present on the Zoom call, to kindly be present and shower your association and blessings so we can have some nice discussion, something meaningful that we can take and apply in our lives so we can know to step closer to the exalted position that's described in this verse. So as we were discussing, this is what Krishna's contemplation. He was saying Uddhava is the only person that's qualified. He is the best of the people that can stay here and share my instructions to the world. So now I can leave, like I'm ready to leave. And Krishna is thinking he doesn't want to just leave randomly because he has that concern and he has been traveling to so many places. He has given his association, personal association while he was there to so many people around. But apparently he could not go to the Badrikashram. So he's concerned for the sages living there that he wants his association through his instructions and through his representatives. So that is the reason, as Shukadeva Goswami is addressing Parikshit Maharaj's question, why Uddhava was left behind when everyone else was able to go back. So that was the reason, because Krishna wanted to benefit the sages of Badrikashram, and so he has given this service to Uddhava to go there and give his association, of course, take their association also, Narnarayan Rishi and other sages. So Uddhava is not inferior to me in any way because he is never affected by the modes of material nature. Therefore, he may remain in this world in order to disseminate specific knowledge of the personality of Godhead. So Prabhupada is writing here, the specific qualification for becoming the representative of the Lord is to be unaffected by the material modes of nature. Anirudh, what are the material modes of nature? The three modes? Yeah, you know the Sanskrit for that? Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. Prabhupada is actually writing Shuddha Sattva, not even Sattva. Sattva is the material mode of goodness, okay? And Rajas is the mode of action. Tamas is the mode of ignorance. So those are the material modes which all of us experience. And what Prabhupada is writing here is, one, if there needs to be a representative of the Lord, so acharyas, like we have Srila Prabhupada and the spiritual masters, right? So one needs to be unaffected by the material modes of nature. When our brothers or sisters take something, we don't become angry. So that is becoming unaffected by the modes. I mean, I'm just trying to pick on you, but each of us go through these modes. Each of us, though we are trying to practice, we are still going through this and affected by the modes of material nature. But Krishna is saying here, they are unaffected. They're never affected, not even like, okay, one time we are like, fine, we chanted nicely. So even if somebody comes and says, yes, yes, Prabhu, and we try to be humble and everything, it's not that. It's never affected. We are never under the control of the material modes of nature. The highest qualification of a person in the material world is to be a Brahmana. So here in this material world, if we see, if someone is in goodness, we say, oh, it's wonderful. Like, they're like peaceful, calm, and regulated, disciplined. Everything is like going perfectly with their life, if you see. Even if they don't practice devotional service, we can see so many of such people. And we may actually be like, wow, they're like so amazing, such an amazing people. But here Prabhupada is writing, but since a Brahmana is in the mode of goodness, to be a Brahmana is not sufficient for becoming a representative of the Lord. Even though such a person is in goodness, they are still within the material modes. It is true, definitely goodness helps us to transcend the modes, transcend the material effect, but it's not enough, it's not sufficient. So goodness is not good enough. We have to go beyond that. So that is the position of a pure devotee, the acharya of who is representing the Lord. One has to transcend the mode of goodness also and be situated in unalloyed goodness, unaffected by any of the qualities of material nature. This stage of transcendental qualification is called Shuddha Sattva or Vasudeva. And in this stage, the science of God can be realized. This was very amazing. As I was going through this purport, this was striking to me what Prabhupada is writing here. Only when one is in that kind of a unalloyed goodness, unaffected by any of the qualities of material nature, can one realize the science of God. So we may all be practicing devotional service, and I go through this question often. Okay, I've been practicing devotional service, I've been hearing and reading the scriptures, but it seems like we understand, but we don't understand. It's like, okay, I got it, I'm going to practice, but then we are again get back into that. So it was very striking, this point, until unless we are in that unalloyed, if we are in this mix, yes, we are trying and we are trying to, slowly move forward. There is some element of that goodness or transcendence in our practices also. But we can only realize to the degree we are freed from the effect of material modes, to that degree we will realize. We cannot realize like completely. I mean, we may think, okay, how can Srila Prabhupada act like this or Guru Maharaj act like this? Why am I getting into, effect of these modes? Why couldn't I be more sane? And the devotee comes and says something or whatever. This is the reason, because we are on that process. We have not yet reached that unalloyed stage of goodness. So until unless we reach to that stage, we cannot realize the science of God completely. So that is a very striking, emphatic way Prabhupada is saying how being the representative of the Lord, or is that too much? Or? Okay. We'll just keep on moving. I have to just hold. That's okay. Yeah. Bhuyayan Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate. So such persons, Sagunan Samatityetan, only by that Avyabhicharini Bhakti can one become free from these modes, Atitan, to the gunas. So then we may question, okay, I have been told this is a pure devotional service and I have been practicing, so I should have become free. So I was hearing a class and the explanation is given like an apprentice. We are in that apprentice, sadhana bhakti, practicing devotional stage where we are practicing devotional service, pure devotional service. But the way we are practicing because of our conditioning, we are going gradually to, to that stage. Like the example of this medical doctor training. So to start with, they will do the surgeries on like frogs and whatever, cockroaches and whatnot. So that's the apprentice. So we cannot say that, oh, the training is waste. Like, okay, it's not really doing the surgery on the real people or whatever. So what purpose is that? No, but it's actually preparing that person for the real job of being a doctor, to be able to help people cure their diseases or save them. Online, it's not. How about the computer? It's not going? Oh, okay. Okay, thank you. Is that better now? Okay, thank you. Okay, sorry. Yeah, the apprentice or the training is what prepares one for the real job. So, in that sense, the devotional service we are practicing right now is very, very important because it is actually preparing us for the pure devotional service that we can perform when we reach to that unaffected by the modes of material nature. And we can see the examples of our devotees, to the degree one has been practicing with that serious, sincere practice of devotional service. We can actually see, even in our lives, I mean, compared to where we started to where we are now, definitely we would see that shift or transformation of heart, like the way we would react to things or people 5 years back or 10 years back is definitely so much different now. So we could see how even that practice stage, it's actually helping us. So continuing the purport. As the Lord is not affected by the modes of material nature, so a pure devotee of the Lord is also not affected by the modes of nature. That is the primary qualification for being one with the Lord. A person who is able to attain this transcendental qualification is called Jivan Mukta or liberated, even though he is apparently in material condition. So, this being one with the Lord, even in the translation, it says, Uddhava is not inferior to me in any way. Na Uddhava Anvapi, Anu Api, even slightly. Anu is slight. So we keep hearing we are Anu and the Lord is Vibhu. But here Krishna is saying Uddhava is same as me. He is one with me, or he's not inferior in any way. So what that means, this be one with the Lord, is being one with Him in the quality, being the same as Him, same as the Lord, in the sense that the Lord, even though He comes here, He is in His form as Radha Syamasundar here. So He is not affected by the material things around Him. He actually makes all those things as spiritualized. His association is actually to help us come out of that conditioning. He is not being bound. In the similar way, pure devotee, because of their consciousness, because of their intimacy with the Lord, that is how they're able to become one with the Lord. It's not like the impersonal philosophy of just merging with the Lord, one with the Lord. It's this verse in the morning prayer, Sakshad Haritvena Samasta Shastre. So the Acharya or the representative of the Lord, Guru, is actually to be worshipped same as the Lord because he is qualitatively one with the Lord. He is like representing the Lord completely, transparently. But it's not that he becomes the Lord in the sense he is the source of everything, everything comes from him, everything is under his control. But because of his connection, he is able to achieve oneness of the quality of the Lord. So we can understand that with the example of this iron rod. If we put iron rod in fire, what happens, Anirudh? What happens if we put an iron rod in the fire? Yeah, iron, metal rod, iron. Yeah, we keep a like the dosa pan, let us say, on the fire. What happens? After some time, can we touch it? Why? It's too hot. And if we leave it for too long, what happens? Let's say mommy forgets it and goes upstairs. What happens? Yeah, it will be so burning. It will become like so red hot, actually. Prabhupada explains this, that it seems like it's fire. If we see that, there is no difference between the fire and the iron rod. It becomes completely one with the quality of a fire. So this is the same example, a pure devotee. Iron rod is not fire, but it is almost like fire because of that constant touch with the fire. It actually became almost like fire. And it has the same quality of burning and hot. If you go near, it's like going to be burning, right? Yeah. So in the similar way, as Krishna is not affected, the pure devotee is also not affected. So that is what is really beautiful. How is that achieved? With that constant touch. And that constant devotional service, I was thinking, this Jivan Mukta stage, it seems in one way very high. It's like, okay, I've been practicing and I don't really see that Jivan Mukta, that quality of fire becoming manifested. So that is also because of our how intentional practice of devotional service we are doing. So we are practicing devotional service, but how conscious or how intentional it is. It's not like, okay, I'll just status go, do whatever, I'll continue, I'll do my chanting, I'll do this, I'll do that, and keep going. Yesterday, Premanand Mataji was saying, when we do the services, we are in that kind of a mad rush, like just on the external platform. We keep doing the activities without really connecting deeper to our heart what these activities, what the service really means. What am I doing here? Like, okay, we are doing Bhagavatam class. I can be like, oh, I can speak nicely, and everybody says, oh, Mataji is such a nice class, or whatever. But is that really going to bring that deeper change in the heart? What is that would bring the change is connection to the Lord. Like we are talking about Krishna, we are talking about pure devotees and pure devotion service. So how is that going to impact our own lives, our own hearts? So that is what the intentional practice of this. I was hearing this very beautiful short clip of His Holiness Sachinandan Maharaj. He was saying the essence of devotional service. So most of the times we are on that surface level, just doing things and keep going through. But what happens at that level is we are still on the top. Rupa Goswami gives this example in Nectar of Devotion. Like devotees are like sharks because they don't stay on the surface. Sharks live like very deep in the ocean, right, Anirudh? Yeah, because they're not affected. Even if some whatever vultures or things come, they may catch the fish on the surface. But sharks are never caught by that. Of course, sharks are big. But even other than that, they're so deep because the devotees are also so deep in their absorption and connection to Krishna that even though things are happening, like whatever stuff at the external level, oh, this Mataji did this or that Prabhuji did this, whatever stuff, we're not so bothered by that because of our deeper connection to Krishna. So Maharaj is describing that is what we need to practice. That's the level of Krishna consciousness. And it's not automatic. It's not like, okay, I chant for 10 years or 20 years, it's going to happen. No, but it's actually intentional. It's conscious. We want to consciously practice at that level. My dear Krishna, I've been so So for just doing this on the superficial level, I really want to go deep and connect with you at that deeper level. Please help me. And when we chant in that mood, when we hear in that mood, do our services in that mood, definitely we can feel the connection, and then we can slowly realize this stage where we are not affected by that superficial, whatever is happening on the surface level. So this is a beautiful verse from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu that Prabhupada is quoting about Jivan Mukta. Sorry. Iha yasya harer dasya karmana manasa gira. Karmana is by activities, manasa is by mind, and gira is by words and body. Nikilashvapi avasthasu jivan mukta sa uchyate. Even when they're here in this material world, I mean, we all have material body, and we may think, oh, the pure devotees are also like have material body. They have to sleep and they have to eat, and uh, sometimes we see they also get the diseases and they have to go through this cycle of birth and death. And we may say, wait a second, they don't seem to be this transcendental as Prabhupada or like the Shastras say. So how come they are going through this so-called the material symptoms? Because the body is going through. So when the body is going through, what is the consciousness? I mean, recently we had this very wonderful example of His Holiness Kadamba Kanan Maharaj leaving the body. What is the consciousness? I mean, like such amazing, even for people so far, we can't really understand the devotional service. We can still feel the elevatedness of the consciousness. It's like, he's not bothered by the pain of that tumor or like whatever is happening, that all these projects, everything is there, but he is not really bothered. That consciousness is very deeply connected to Sri Vrindavan Dham and Shri Radha Syamasundar, and Maharaj is like totally fixed. He's like, it's a change of service. That means it's a change of service. So yeah, Krishna may put me some other place, some other service. I'll be serving Prabhupada in a different way. So he's not bothered, never affected, least bothered by whatever is happening to the body. So when they are in that kind of a condition, they are Jivan Muktas, because their consciousness, because of the intimacy with the Lord, they are never bothered by what is happening. So all these things we may see devotees are going through, it's happening to the body, but not really to them, the real them. Uddhava was in such a transcendental position, and thus he was selected to be the factual representative of the Lord in his bodily absence from the vision of the Lord. So Uddhava was actually in such a position. Uddhava, we know, he is the most intimate devotee of the Lord out of Vrindavan. And he is so dear that he is actually in so much separation and so much agony. We have been hearing from like third chapter onwards how much of these feelings Uddhava is going through. So his connection is such intense connection with the Lord that he is actually selected to be the factual representative of the Lord in his bodily absence from the vision of the world. So when Krishna is leaving, he doesn't want to bereft all of us in this material world of his association. So he is making sure he has proper representatives, and through Shastras, he is continuing to give us the opportunity to associate with him. And in that process, these pure devotees are actually helping the Lord's mission to give his association to the devotees, and also immensely benefiting all of us, because without their presence, we don't have any opportunity to understand this. And this is another beautiful thing I was thinking. Such a devotee of the Lord is never affected by material strength, intelligence, or even renunciation. Such a devotee of the Lord can withstand all onslaughts of material nature, and therefore he is known as Goswami. So they are never affected by material strength, intelligence, or renunciation. These are all the opulences of the Lord. And they may have certain strength and renunciation and knowledge. Uddhava, we keep hearing, he is so intelligent. He is so intelligent that Lord Krishna himself, he actually goes consultation with Uddhava. Of course, Uddhava remembers that. He's like, my Lord, you are the supreme and you are approaching me. to give you the guidance. His heart is like totally melted, remembering that. So such is his intelligence level, and looks like apparently he is like the greatest warrior in that whole army of Krishna. And similar to Arjuna, they have this immense strength, intelligence, and renunciation, but they are not bewildered by that, or they're not controlled by that. I was thinking about it. For us, I mean, I can speak for myself. There is a little ability, little skill here and there. We become, yes, I'm able to do this. I'm able to do that. Materially, definitely. But even spiritually, when we are able to do some service, yes, I was able to do that very nicely. Yes, yes. Of course, somewhere in the back of mind, we know it's because of Guru and Krishna's mercy, but we are totally carried away by that. I mean, I could trust the deities beautifully, or I can sing nicely, or I can speak nicely, I can remember nicely, whatever. I was thinking I can remember any verse nicely, and boom, and Krishna shows. I was like, okay, what's the next line? So it's only coming from Krishna. It's not really our own. So they are completely aware of that. So they're not being controlled by that material strength. Even the spiritual strength, actually. I was hearing about this beautiful instance of Srila Prabhupada during, you might have heard about it, during Radha Landanishwara installation. So the deities are, I think the Abhishek was done, the deities were taken back behind the curtains, and there were pillars, and they were putting the canopy on top of it. It's like a very heavy canopy. So Prabhupada completed the fire sacrifice, and he went back in, and Radha Landanishwara, they were standing there, and these devotees, I think Tamal Krishna Maharaj and a couple other devotees, they were trying to put the canopy on top. They were like, young, like 20 years old, like brahmacharis, like a strong American body. So they were there, few of them, and they were trying to put, and somehow one of the pillars slid off. And it was just about to fall onto, I forgot, either on top of Radharani or Krishna. And Prabhupada, he jumped onto the altar. Like everyone was like, stuck and just looking at him. And with both the hands, he was like holding the canopy like this. I mean, everybody was like, looking. His stature was like really, small and like 70-year-old and like, not such a strong body. But it's something beyond, something mystical. It's not material, bodily strength that we build up in the gym and whatever. It's the spiritual strength, so that the deities were not crushed by that canopy. And of course, then the devotees comes and they immediately, try to take the canopy out, at least for the installation time, and they continue as if nothing happened. Like nobody knew. The hall was like full of people, all dignitaries, and nobody knew. Like, Prabhupada really saved that whole catastrophic situation. So such kind of a strength, it's not even material strength, it's actually a spiritual strength. But Prabhupada is never like, kind of a proud saying, oh, I did it. Like no other mention, only devotees who are like, just sharing that. Just how amazing, how mystical, how, out of the world personality Srila Prabhupada is. So that is what the quality of a devotee. Such a devotee of the Lord can withstand all onslaughts of material nature. So either way, either when we are faced with challenges or when we are blessed with some strengths or skills, they're not really being bothered by that. They are never affected by that because of their constant connection and their deeper absorption in Krishna consciousness. Therefore, he is known as Goswami. Only such Goswamis can penetrate the mysteries of the Lord's transcendental loving relationships. So only when they have that kind of intimacy with the Lord, that is when they will be able to understand. So that is how, sometimes we can feel, like, wait a second, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakura says, okay, this is what Krishna is thinking inside himself. How is that Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur had access? It's like, wait a minute. Because of their constant connection, it's a revelation. So it's not by our reading multiple scriptures or by analyzing or by our intelligence we are understand this. Again and again, I used to think that Krishna says this is very confidential, Bhagavad Gita 9th chapter. How is that confidential? We keep going to Patel brothers, this, that, wherever, and we just give Bhagavad Gita to everybody. How is that confidential? It's kind of open to everyone. It is open, but the real imports of these scriptures can actually be realized only with our connection with the Lord, only when Lord reveals them. So that is something we can actually, kind of meditate and pray for and aspire to really have that connection. And the other thing I was thinking about this is, here Krishna says in text 30, Uddhava is the best representative. He is the only person who can have my true knowledge about myself. And so he needs to be the representative and go to this Padrik ashram. And if we see this, these verses from 29, 30, 31, Shukadeva Goswami is saying to Parikshit Maharaj, it's not that, somebody else is saying. So Shukadeva Goswami was able to understand what Krishna is thinking in his heart. So from that, we can understand Shukadeva Goswami is also this kind of a devotee. That is how he is able to get that access to Krishna's heart, what Krishna is thinking. And in the similar way, Srila Prabhupada and our spiritual masters, who is representing Srila Prabhupada and Uddhava, they have this access. So we can understand how these amazing representatives are in our life too. And we may say, oh, Uddhava is such an amazing person. Arjuna is such an amazing person. So if they are present in my life, I would be different hearing from them directly. But we do have Shukadeva Goswami and Sutta Goswami, and the parampara continues, and Srila Prabhupada, whoever is factually representing the Lord because of their qualification and absorption in the Lord, we can access the same kind of mercy. We can access the same kind of revelation through their absorption. So we can conclude here and see any discussion. So the main point here is, this is Lord Krishna is saying Uddhava is same as him, not in any way inferior to him. And that's the qualification for being his representative, to share his knowledge and to share his mercy and to give his association. So for us, how we can approach our acharyas is worship them and consider them as good as the Lord himself. In that mode, follow their instructions and practice our devotional service in that way. Then, by Shri Radha Syamasundar and Shri Radha Madhav and Gauranga Mahaprabhu's mercy and by their service, we may also become Jivan Mukta, if not this lifetime, once. Soon, very soon. Hare Krishna. Any sharings, reflections, discussion? A few minutes. I don't know if anyone on Zoom. Devotees. Hare Krishna. You have something? Mic. You have a mic. You can. Yeah. The question is, so Prabhupada is describing here the Shuddha Sattva. They are never affected by the material modes of nature. It's not like once they're affected and then they go back and come back. For us, kind of that's the case. I mean, most of the times. So I think Gopal Hari Prabhu was touching on this point either yesterday's class or Sunday feast. I forgot. Yesterday's, I think. Yeah, so for our case, we don't stay there. We may experience glimpses of that, but we are not really at that stage. So that is why we are kind of, oscillating here and there. Because we are still on the material platform. We are still within the conditional stage. But my understanding is because of Krishna's mercy, because of whatever little tiny sincerity we are practicing, Krishna is giving us these glimpses, how it is, like, being in the transcendence, not affected by the modes. I mean, we may have sometimes this experience like, okay, something happens, but we react like, we respond to the situation in a very Krishna conscious way. And we'll be like, oh, wow, okay, the process is working finally. but but something happens like after half hour or something. Oh, what happened? Like, I thought I became Krishna conscious. So because we are still within that realm, but once we reach to that stage, what Krishna Shukadeva Goswami is describing here, where Uddhava is, they are not affected by the material modes. We may see that, you know like Rajavasis, they are anxious or they are this or like whatever. It may appear like they're in similar to material modes, but it's a transcendental mode. That's what Maharaj explains, right? I mean, hey, wait, they also have anger and they also have all these feelings. So how to understand? Because of their, that again, that intense connection with the Lord, that is in the transcendence. Because even with Srila Prabhupada, we hear so many examples where he became angry with the devotees, his disciples. But that's not really like us. That's not coming from a place of, like expressing a dissatisfaction with the other person or putting other person down or whatever. It's really to help the disciple, to correct the disciple, to help them progress. So in that sense, uh, even though we may see the pure devotees sometimes, not even pure devotees, let's say advanced devotees, even who are around us, apparently in that kind of a situation, of course, depending on the degree, if they have really achieved that platform or still in the material conditions, we can understand that they are not going through the modes like us. Yeah. Does that help, Prabhu? Yeah. Thank you. Prabhu, you have something? Would you like to share something? Yeah. Uddhava is not inferior to me in any way because he is never affected by the modes of material nature. Therefore, he may remain in this world in order to disseminate specific knowledge of the personality of Godhead.
This is reminding me of two verses. Um, Not two verses, one verse and the other context. The verse that I'm remembering is Krishna specifically saying Uddhava is not inferior to me in any way. There is a verse Acharya Mam Vijaniyam Namamanyahita Karhichit. He says that spiritual master is, you should consider spiritual master just like me. And so only such persons will be interested to disseminate specific knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that comes out very nicely here. And the second thing is, I remember this purport from Bhagavad Gita where Prabhupada explains that Krishna himself or he sends his sons or his bona fide representatives to come and give Krishna conscious to everyone. And then he does mention Lord Jesus Christ and as an agent also. So that is coming out. It's really nice. And the other personality that comes to my thoughts is Hanuman. Also remained back. Everybody went, only he remained back. It's a similar situation. All the yadus and everyone is going, and one person remains. It almost sounds like punishment, but that seems to be the biggest responsibility given to an apt person.
Yeah, that Acharya Mam Vijani, and I actually had that verse open in my laptop, but we couldn't bringing that. Yeah, it's very beautiful. And what's also interesting is Krishna is speaking that verse to Uddhava, I guess, right? Yeah, so that was another very beautiful thing. How that synchrony in the scriptures, that's very beautiful harmony. Yeah, and the other thing you were saying about this, yeah, I was actually thinking when I was reading, therefore he may remain in this world in order to disseminate specific knowledge. I was like, wait a minute, if they're Jivan Mukta, if they are in that kind of state, because for us, I want to become liberated and I want to just get out of this material world. That's always, at least for motivation or meditation for us. But what is interesting is because he is unaffected by material nature, modes of material nature, he can remain. I was like, wow. So that was like really bringing that aspect. It's not punishment. I was also thinking that last week, Yamuna Prabhu was saying, Ahlada and Viyoga, he's going through so much separation, but also at the same time, so much of that bliss of meeting the Lord and receiving the Lord's instructions and continuing. And when Yamuna Prabhu was speaking, I was thinking of all Srila Prabhupada's disciples. I mean, when he left, it's intense. It's intense. I mean, we can only imagine. We may not really understand to the full extent what they must be going through. But how for 40 years, 50 years, they have like, even now when we hear, I mean, with Maharaj lectures, just comes out like so evidently the deep gratitude and connection. Even now they're feeling the connection. So I'm thinking with Uddhava's case, even though apparently he was left behind with Krishna and everybody left, he still feels that very deep connection and like, as if he's right there with Krishna. So,
Because this is one thing, and the other thing is that he he was the only person from out of Vrindavan was sent to Vrindavan. Nobody else. I mean, even, we're not comparing here, but just to even think about, there are so many queens who are in the same bhava. I mean, once and same kind of like rasa, right? They are also in, even though Madhurya, they are also Madhurya. They were not sent as messengers. One of them did not go as messengers, and neither any elders didn't go for messengers. But Uddhava was sent. So he went to communicate with especially the topmost devotees of the planet, or existence in one sense. So that was Uddhava's. This time in this third canto, I think Uddhava's introduction and repeated getting to know about Uddhava is really special, actually. Yeah. Yeah. He can go and meet with gopis. He can also interact with people of this world, because those who are affected with material nature, he can interact with them also. He's being left for them, but he was sent also to Vrindavan, both extremes. Thank you.
here, 8:32. Thank you so much for joining in person here and also to join on Zoom. We'll pause here and you all have a very wonderful Krishna conscious day. Pancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyeva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Grandhara Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki